and welcome to our second St. Joseph reflection video of the year. If this is your first time joining us and watching, welcome. Little recap from the last video and what the goal is of this video series. On December 8th, Pope Francis declared this year to be the year of St. Joseph. He wrote an apostolic letter called Patris Corde with a father's heart. And in that, he described the different phrases that he saw St. Joseph being a father, that all of us should strive to live out in our daily lives, but also to help us to grow in a relationship with him. These 7 phrases were: as a beloved father, tender and loving, obedient, accepting, creatively courageous, a working father, and a father in the shadows. And he goes on to describe how Joseph lives these out and really brought up Jesus in the way that was a reflection of our Father's love. He ends the letter with a little prayer and a call for us to grow in relationship with him, to live out these virtues that he lived so well, and to just have a greater devotion to him as a nation, as a world, and as Catholics in general. Today, we have a guest with us. It's not just going to be me talking to the camera. Paul is going to join us, and we're going to talk about St. Joseph, his relationship with St. Joseph, and some other prayers, devotions to him. So welcome.
Thank you.
It's kind of fun
to
be having you as my guest rather than
the
being
other way
your
around.
guest.
Yeah. Yeah, we've done this quite a few times where one of us has interviewed the other. So it's good.
It's fun to be on the other side of this.
A little intimidating to be in this seat instead of that one. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, so it's the year of St. Joseph. You have a devotion to St. Joseph?
I do, and it started long before even my journey through the Catholic faith started. So my middle name is actually Joseph.
Oh, okay.
And I always was kind of fascinated with where names come from. Mm-hmm. Like, what is their meaning? Why do they have the meaning that they have? And so I remember growing up and thinking about, like, what does the name Joseph mean? Mm-hmm. Which means father.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that's really weird. Like, there are tons of dads in the world. Why is Joseph the one that gets to be dad? And it's partly because of Joseph, the father, Jesus, the earthly father of Jesus Christ. And so that was kind of a really cool thing. And then as I started in my own faith journey, he was definitely somebody that was a model in that way. I've got a few patron saints up here, but Joseph is one of them as a father figure that I aspire to be like as a father as well.
Yeah.
So
you have just a couple medals.
Yeah, just a few.
I loved reading the letter and just hearing about the different aspects of St. Joseph as a father, because he doesn't speak at all in the Bible, so it's kind of hard sometimes to have that relationship with someone who doesn't really say anything, but his actions definitely speak louder than his words. And so I think the phrases that Pope Francis used were great things to pray with and to pray through. Yeah.
So we've made the joke before on the coffee chat of the sacrilegious, right? I've got my sacrilegious St. Joseph socks on, knowing that we were going to do this today. And it's got the quotation marks on the bottom with nothing in it. And Pope Francis, in the letter, he talks about Joseph as being this figure that's kind of in the shadows. Yeah. Which I think is a testament to his humility, not his place, as much as just he was willing to accept the role of being the tender, the father who was just quiet, and he was there. But we know from readings, right? Like even with I believe it's the Gospel of Luke, the account of Jesus growing up as a great man with great stature. Like he would have gotten that model from Joseph, his father. Yeah. So I love the imagery there that he was not someone who desired to be in the front. He was more than willing to be in the background and not have a lot to say, and to be that strong figure to Jesus and that strong model with his presence. Which I think is such a beautiful thing. I mean,
he, in the Holy Family, it's definitely the lesser of the three, but it was the least that guided Christ and taught him all the things that humans need. Learning how to walk, learning how to talk, even learning how to work with his hands in his own carpentry shop. It's just a really beautiful thing to reflect on, and something that I think we as people in the 21st century think about that often, being behind the scenes and being in the background.
Right.
You know, like when I hear about St. Joseph, it's usually, like humility, a humble man, a just man, and that's all that I think about. But then you think more about the humility that he lived out and how that really was truly humility. He lived with Christ for the first 30 years of his life before anyone else really knew anything of his ministry. Yeah. And just reflecting on that, of how he lived his life in perpetual adoration of our Lord.
Yes.
And that's just in itself, you could reflect on that for like years.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, one of the things that I find to be so interesting about all of this is we talk about Jesus coming into the world, we talk about Mary's Immaculate Conception, but even before that was Joseph. You know, that God had destined this man who comes from the lineage of David to be the father of Jesus Christ. Yeah. So before Mary, before Jesus, there was Joseph, who we know had this good and devout, chaste, and humble heart. And I think we forget about it all the time because he's in the shadows, right? You and I are talking right now. We're on camera. We're in the front. There's a crew of people who are working alongside of us that make all of this possible, who are like that same humble servant. So I guess I should probably leave and let them do this. Probably make more sense to be like Joseph. But I think that's fascinating. The wording of being in the shadows, and that was a role that he loved. Like it wasn't something that was like reluctantly, darn,
dang it.
Not It's like, no, this is my role, this is my place, this is my job.
And he listened to the will of God, and whatever he called him to do, he didn't question it, he just went. And his only goal was protecting Mary and Jesus.
Joseph's fiat, right? Mm-hmm. Like his ability to say yes is what I think a lot. So my favorite title for St. Joseph is the Terror of Demons.
Yes.
And I love that. I'm trying to remember who exactly it was, but it was a saint that reflected on that demons are so afraid of the mention of the name of St. Joseph that even in his sleep, he is more fierce than the greatest warriors. Because when did God visit St. Joseph?
In his sleep, in his dreams.
Right, and so... I mean, we think about this person who is meek and forgotten as if that were a form of weakness, but think about what he did. Like, he was the one who led Mary to the manger. He was the one that took them when they flee from the persecution that was happening to children. It was all Saint Joseph. You know, he was the one who's put in charge of that protection and terror of demons like that. That's what we all aspire to be. Like the demons shall fear me when I wake up or when I go to sleep.
Saint Joseph, there's so many different names for him, whether it's in the litany of Saint Joseph or that he's the patron of the universal church. And I think that in this year, Saint Joseph, it's important to grow in that relationship through prayer, and there's so many different prayers that we can say, whether it's novenas or devotionals or even the consecration to Saint Joseph from Father Calloway.
If you haven't seen it, here it is. You get it from that camera or this camera, either one. Right, we've got you covered.
Highly suggest.
So the Consecration of St. Joseph by Father Calloway. I did the Marian Consecration, and one of the beautiful things about the Marian Consecration, I think it's Father Michael Gately. When he writes about it. Mm-hmm. So his is a condensed version, I guess you would say. It's a 33-day consecration that is formulated off of Saint Louis de Montfort's. And the idea is that if you're going to present a prayer to Jesus, and you're going to grow in this relationship with Jesus, he likens it to you want to give an apple. Your prayer. Mm-hmm. And he says, what Mary does with that prayer, when you do a consecration to Mary, consecration to Jesus through Mary, is that Mary's going to take that apple and she's going to put it on a golden platter and she's going to shine it up, make it look like the best looking apple anyone has ever seen, and present it to Jesus on your behalf. The consecration to St. Joseph is the exact same thing. Mm-hmm. It's not that we are putting Joseph above Mary or above Jesus or any of that. It's that we know that this is Jesus' father.
Yeah.
We know that this is the person that God entrusted himself with. And because of that, Joseph, can you help present this in this way? It helps us to grow in our humility. It helps us to grow in that tenderness, in that understanding that the life that I live here is not my own. It's to be given back to a relationship with Jesus Christ.
Exactly.
So the consecration is super important in that way. And I think it's something that not only does it allow us to grow in our relationship with Joseph, it allows us to grow in that relationship with Jesus Christ.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think it's another way that we can be close to God in the ways that he desires us to be close to him. And
absolutely.
And we could do the consecration right now if we wanted to. We could say the prayer and be consecrated to St. Joseph, or we could say the prayer and be consecrated to Mary. You don't have to do the preparation. But I think for me personally, I find it important to kind of know what I'm doing and have more of an understanding of who St. Joseph is. Or even when I did my consecration to Mary, have a deeper understanding of the importance of a relationship with her.
Yeah.
So you can do the consecration today. You can do the 33 days of preparation. Or even if you don't feel like you're at that point to do the 33 days of preparation, there is supplemental reading in the back of the book where you can get to know of St. Joseph even more. And then when you feel more ready or more prepared, you can start doing the consecration. And there's no harm in waiting longer. I mean, everyone's different. Every prayer life is different. And Christ just wants us to be close to him, and he will help us on our journey in whatever way that is. You know? Yeah,
absolutely. And I think, with this, the way that Father Calloway talks about it is you do this preparation, you learn about who St. Joseph was, you get a better understanding of his relationship with Christ, and then in 33 days you do the consecration, usually on a feast day. Yeah. Right. So with this one, kind of the thing that you and I talked about, one of the suggestions that we want to make is that as you prepare yourself to go through the journey of Lent, everybody's always looking for something to do, right? We want to go bigger than giving up chocolate is kind of the catchphrase that we use all the time. So this actually would start on February 15th and go through the feast of St. Joseph the Father on March the 19th. So still a couple weeks out from Easter, but it would help give you a better understanding of who Joseph was. The research that was done that went into this is amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It's like 3 years, I think, he spent researching all of this.
I mean, he had to put all of it together because there was nothing before this.
Yes. And I think it's interesting that Josephology, the kind of study and understanding of Joseph's life, is something that's important in a lot of other countries, but there's no devotional prayers. There's no we have like novenas up to his feast day, but there wasn't like the same appreciation that we get like for Marian doxology, dogma. So if that's something that you're interested in doing, I recommend you can pick up one of these books on Amazon or at Sacred Heart Bookstore up the street.
I got mine in Wisconsin when I went home to visit my family for Christmas. So
you can get it anywhere now.
You really can get it anywhere now. And
so once Pope Francis announced the year of St. Joseph, Father Calloway's he put on Facebook. I follow him on there, and he was like, "I now am booked solid for like the next 2 years," and I was like. Missed him.
I'm not surprised. That's crazy. Yeah, I think the consecration to St. Joseph is an incredible thing to do during Lent.
Yes.
Not just for an extra prayer, but to have that inspiration of something to strive for through our penance and through our prayer leading up to Easter and to Christ's resurrection, because there's so many incredible virtues that St. Joseph encapsulates, lives out, and even the gifts of the Holy Spirit that he lives out so well as well. And I think that I have still so much to learn from him, and if this is something that anyone would want to participate in or take part in once they get the book or whatever, since I am the one that is in charge of the social media postings, I will be doing little reminders every day from the 15th to the 19th of having that accountability for doing consecration, because it's hard sometimes to do it by yourself when you don't have
Somebody
to remind you and to
yeah.
help you along. So you can either do it with your family, you can do it with a group of friends, you can do it with a group at the parish, or even just having that accountability online through social media. So that sometimes helps people as well. So that's just a little teaser, I guess.
It may look intimidating, but it's really not. Like, the last half of the book is a lot of prayers and quotes from different saints. I think each day is only like a page.
It's maybe like four pages
prayer.
is max. And some of the supplemental reading in the back, if you decide to read that beforehand, you'll be rereading it again during the days of consecration. And so it's really not that much reading. And honestly, when I was reading some of the 9 wonders in the back of the book, it was so easy to read through, and I was surprised that I got through 10 pages so quickly, because he breaks it up in a way that it's easy to understand and easy to read, but he also explains the quotes that he uses. He doesn't just place them in there and be like, okay, you have to interpret this yourself.
Right.
So that's also an added supplement for the prayer life as well.
Yeah, it's great. It's accessible, and it challenges you to grow in your faith. And I think that was his whole mindset when he set out to start this, is I want to educate people on who this person was as part of the Holy Family. And we'll see where we go from there. I think it's St. Francis that he quotes of, this is the earthly Trinity, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. And so it's important to make him a part of your lives and not forget that, the same way that we would not want to ever ignore the Holy Trinity.
I mean, even something that I learned when I was reading this is that there's the different days of the week that are devoted to different devotions, I guess, in the church. And so, classic Sundays is for Jesus, the resurrection. Saturdays are for Mary, but Wednesdays are for St. Joseph. And the reason that it's a Wednesday is because it's halfway between Sunday and Saturday. And so it leads you to the next one. And also reminds you that St. Joseph was so devoted to both. He was so devoted to Christ, and he was so devoted to Mary, and just asking us to continue in that devotion is a beautiful thing to remember. And even the majority of this is going to be through Lent. And so I think that will have another beautiful thing for us to reflect on, an added aspect.
Part of it is exactly why it's perfect to be where we are doing this today. I love this image of St. Joseph that we have here at All Saints, of Jesus like tugging on his beard and him just kind of looking down and being like, all right, kid. Just like the love of a father and his child. So he did not love him as if he were not his own.
Exactly.
And that's what's so beautiful about all of it. So
so thank you so much for having this conversation and getting to talk about St. Joseph and different prayers, different names, the consecration. I hope that you join me, that anyone else watching this would join as well, so that we can grow in that relationship with St. Joseph. Something to look forward to for our next video in March. We're going to have Philip Muscat be our guest, the business manager here at All Saints, and we are going to discuss the feast day of St. Joseph on March 19th, which is when this consecration will end. We're going to talk about how the whole month of March is devoted to St. Joseph, and then also a little bit about Philip's personal relationship with St. Joseph. So it's not something you're going to want to miss. We look forward to seeing you next time, and thanks for joining us. St. Joseph, pray for us.